The FA Cup is football's oldest competition, with the inaugural tournament taking place across England in 1871. Nowadays, it is dominated by the Premier League clubs, with West Ham's victory in the 1980 final over Arsenal being the last time a team outside of the top flight won the trophy. But I bet that you didn't know that one of the Cup's greatest serial winners were not only completely amateur, but don't even exist anymore. Welcome to Sports Simplified, and this is the long-lost FA Cup Giants. Now, we may think of football as a working class sport, but in the early years of its formalisation, it was largely dictated and codified by those in England's prestigious private schools and universities. The Football Association was founded in 1863 by a group of predominantly privately educated members of the emerging Victorian middle class. In fact, during the early years of the FA Cup, teams made up of former public school boys dominated the game, with the Old Etonians winning the Cup twice, Old Carthusians winning in 1881, and even the Oxford University team taking the 1874 edition. But these teams were nothing compared to our featured champions. Founding members of the Football Association, Wanderers were an amateur team made up of former private schoolboys from a range of different institutions, their name alluding to the fact that they never had a set home ground. With the traditions of Victorian amateurism gripping the early years of codified football, the FA Cup began in 1871 before any truly professional clubs had emerged in England. Now, we do have to remember that amateurism was an ideological stance that wasn't inherently exclusionary, but in reality and practice meant that only those who didn't need financial compensation for their time playing football could indulge in the sport. In the first edition of the Cup, Wanderers made it through to the final, defeating the Royal Engineers 1-0 at the Kennington Oval in front of a crowd estimated to be 2,000 strong, with entry to the game costing just 1 shilling, around 5 pence in today's money. In the preceding 6 years, Wanderers went on to win the FA Cup 4 more times, including 3 on the bounce between 1876 and 1878, a feat only matched by the great Blackburn Rovers in their era of dominance in the 1880s. Wanderers' tally of 5 FA Cup victories puts them level with traditional giants such as Everton and more trophies than the likes of Sunderland, West Ham and Nottingham Forest. Despite this impressive record, as professionalism and organisation swept through the game, amateur sides were left behind, and with no reliable squad and no permanent home, Wanderers were dissolved in 1887. Nowadays, we see the FA Cup final selling out the 90,000-seater Wembley Stadium, with even the cheapest tickets costing over 1,000 times what they did at the first final, and a field filled by athletes earning wages beyond the wildest imagination of the sport's founders and their dream of an amateur game. Thanks to football's evolution past this ideology, however, the sport has become by far the biggest on the planet. The legacy of Wanderers in the early years of the FA Cup may not be too relevant in the modern game, but they do help us remember the strange and humble circumstances of how the world's most popular sport came to be.